What's up, everyone? Thank you for joining us today. Sorry. Right. So the goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to spot the bottom, right? We want to figure out how the market can make a bottom. And for that, I've got four key things that I'm looking at. I'm just going to share that with you now. So if I'm looking at spotting the bottom of the market, these are the things I'm looking at, right? First is Bitcoin. This is the ultimate liquidity point. So if Bitcoin rises higher, and I don't mean this small 5% rise that it's given, let's say today after the whole announcement by G7, that's a completely different another point. But what I mean is a substantial rise, right? So it should break its resistances. I think the main resistance I'd see for Bitcoin here would be the region of maybe 70 lakhs, right? So it breaks 70 lakhs around, let's say, $78,000. That's where I think that liquidity is coming back into the system. And you can rest assured that the Federal Reserve is trying to do something in the background to manage the situation. The second and more important, more long term or more trustworthy metric is this. This is called the yield curve. Let me know if you guys know about the yield curve. Otherwise, I'll give you some more details on it. But what the yield curve essentially shows, let me just add it. Yeah. So this is the yield curve, right? This essentially tells us where the equity market is going. It's never been broken. This is only showing you what the last 50 years or so, but this has been true for like as long as the bond market has existed, right? As long as the financial markets have existed. We did not have the 10-year and 2-year before that. We had different forms of bonds, but this curve is essentially the difference between the interest rates for the 10-year bond and the 2-year bond. So basically, very simply explaining it, if someone gives the US government money for a bond, I'm sure you guys know what a bond is, right? So if someone gives the US government money for a bond that lasts for 10 years, they take more risk, right? Because anything can happen in 10 years. World War could break out, anything could happen. But if you give it for 2 years, you're taking lesser risk because the 2-year vision is easier to make. So when you generally take a 10-year bond, you get a higher interest rate, like in a loan, right? Bigger the risk, greater the interest rate. So generally the 2-year is always trading higher than the 10-year is always trading higher than the 2-year in terms of interest rate. But before recessions, as you can see here, the bond market understands that the risk in the next 2 years is greater than the risk in the next 10 years. So it asks for more money or more interest for the 2-year bond. Because in the next 2 years, the risk is greater. But in the 10 years, they don't see that much risk. They see that things will stabilize, right? That's called yield curve inversion. This is all in yield curve inversion. Whenever this bond yield spread has gone below zero, that's called an inversion, and that has always predicted a recession without fail. Without fail, right? The only so-called exceptions would be when there is re-inversion. What I mean by that is, take an example of 1998 here, right? You can see that there was a very tiny inversion here. See that tiny inversion here? And then we had the yield curve going back to its normal state, but then it re-inverted. Only in this state did we not get a recession. But otherwise, we've always gotten a recession. The same thing happened here. 2006, there was an inversion, but then the market came back, it re-inverted, and then when it properly went up again, spike. This is called the yield curve spike. The moment it spikes, you know that there's a recession coming. So the only way I'll be convinced that we don't have a recession coming is if this thing goes below zero. That's the basic idea. If the yield curve goes below zero again, we get a reinversion, then I know that the recession is not here in the next 3 to 6 months. Then I'm going long. Then I'm going to be buying in. Right now, I can't really predict where this chart is going, right? It's very high. Never in history has the chart gone this high and not ended up in a recession very soon. It's also been about 1.5 years since this re-inversion happened, and we've never had a period that long. So even the longest period here was what, June 1998, and then the re-inversion had come in by Jan of 2000, right? And here we know the recession anyway came. By 2000, recession had struck. So 18 months has never happened in the past. So I don't think this will revert, which in turn means that the market will fall more. That's at least my prediction for now. Just a second. Yes, Meher, I'm trying to explain it. If you didn't understand any part of it, just ask a question or tell me what part you didn't understand. If you didn't understand the whole thing, and I'll go through it again. The idea is very simple, right? You want to simply look at this chart. This is the Federal Reserve of Bank of St. Louis ka website. If you just check US 10-year, so I'll show you how I Google it as well. US 10-year versus 2-year bond yield, right? This is what I'm searching. And you'll most likely get this chart up front, or maybe even the CNBC or any website works. This has the longest time frame though, and it also highlights recessions with it, so this becomes easier to understand. My point is, if this goes below zero, we can say that a recession won't come in the next 2 to 3 months. But if that doesn't happen, and I think that time has already passed, in my understanding at least, if this was to reinvert, it should have happened by now. Given that it hasn't, within that 2 year time frame, we're supposed to get a recession because it's a 2 year, 10-year spread, no? So it has to happen within that 2 year window. So most likely, given going by this chart, we're going to see a recession. Now the other one is crude oil. So where is crude oil going to end up? It's fallen very sharply today. It had gone to 120, which is the worst case scenario for the market. If oil stays at 120 for even, let's say, 2 weeks, assume that Nifty is going to be trading at 21,000, 20,000 to 21,000 range. No 22,000, no nothing, straight down. Right? Then our support becomes 18, 19,000. That's horrible for us. But even at these prices, 22,000 is very realistic. If it stays at 100, we're looking at 22,000 about. If the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. If the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, then oil also goes to 120, 150. So this is kind of like a vicious circle. That doesn't seem to be a very easy out for the world right now. Also, with Khamenei's son becoming the new Ayatollah, it's a clear sign that they don't want any peace agreements coming in soon. And if you think about all the outs that the US and Iran have, Iran's great leader was killed. They don't want an out right now. They just elected the hardest person they could find to convince it to peace, right? Ayatollah's son, the man who lost his wife, his father, his mother in that bombing, that man isn't going to be suing for peace. So Iran is clearly not looking for that. There are so many weaknesses in the Middle East that financially impact the US. Even if we leave the crude oil part aside, if the Middle East cannot generate the petrodollar, then the US economy goes into a shutdown, right? Like the AI bubble bursts instantaneously. The moment it becomes clear that the Middle East is not coming out of this, that's valuation change. It's not about the fundamentals then. It's not the earnings will fall, it's that the valuations will fall because there wouldn't be enough money in the system, which is already going through a liquidity crunch. The private credit market in the US is already suffering. Just Google this. BlackRock private credit limitations. So I'll just show you that. BlackRock, which is the largest manager in the world, even if you just Google this, you'll get this, right? It has limited redemptions. A firm like BlackRock does not do that unless it's in real trouble. They manage most of the world's money. Larry Fink, I think, is the chief of that company. He manages more money than almost every other bank combined. Manages about 1/3 of the world's money. World's money, not the US's money. So if they're limiting, then we are looking at a problem. That's all right, Meher. So yes, I'm fairly certain that there doesn't seem to be a way back. I've been thinking about what is the way back from here. So today, when the market fell 3%, I cut some of my shorts. I booked profits in about half of my OMC shorts. I think I booked profits in SBI ka short as well. I had SBI in one folio. I booked my shorts there as well. So I booked some profits today because I thought the market is falling very fast. That was my thinking, that usually you get reactions after this, you get short coverings after this. And thankfully, something's happened, right? Like this is just how technicals are justified by fundamentals. We did see the whole G7 meeting and everything coming in, which kind of explains why we should get a short covering. But over a 1 week period, I don't see what can help the market. Now, if something unbelievable happens, which is that Iran and US suddenly find a middle ground, but that's my question, right? What is that possible middle ground? Even in the most extreme of scenarios, what is that possible middle ground? As we just talked about, the Ayatollah's son lost his mother and his wife and his father in the same bombing. He's not going to say that, you know what, I'm fine, let's shake hands and make up, why spoil the world? No, he's a son, he's a husband. He's not going to be okay with that. On the other hand, you have Mr. who, at this moment, he's not going to apologize to Iran, and Iran will want him to pay in some way or the other. So what has happened is Iran is now in a mix of survival and revenge. And that's a very deadly combination. And as long as this war keeps going, or even if Iran loses the war completely, all they have to do is keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. That's not a very difficult job. You could give that to amateurs and they'll manage to do it. Right? It's a very narrow strait, and all you have to do is put in mines there and not remove them and have a couple of launches in the mountains. Read up on this. There are so many experts who've given out interviews. There's one guy from the UK called Michael Clark, who I think speaks for BBC, if I'm not wrong. But if you just Google Michael Clark on Iran, you'll see his interviews, and he's always explained these military strategies very well. He was an army man himself, and he talked about the Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war, and everything. That's where I run into him. But Michael Clark gave a coverage on this, and he said that Iran has more options than the US now, because Iran has nothing left to lose. It's going to be destroyed anyway. So it's basically a wild animal who has been hurt so bad that it doesn't care anymore. All it wants to do is damage before it's taken out. And in that scenario, the US doesn't have options because Donald Trump is a deal maker, right? That is his strength. Who is he going to make a deal with? There is no one in Iran. That is where my thinking just gets blocked out. If you guys can come up with a solution, any possible solution, I would really appreciate that, because I'm trying to think of the other side. How does this war end? What is the possibility? What is a possible scenario that this war ends? Who does what? Ayatollah comes in and stops this? Not going to happen. Trump coming in apologizing there? That is not going to happen. He didn't apologize for the Jan 6 riots. He didn't apologize even when he was in court and convicted. He didn't apologize for any of that. The Supreme Court told him he was wrong. He didn't apologize. So that's not going to happen. In fact, we have more carry groups moving into the street now, moving closer to Iran, coming in from Britain now. So that's my thinking, right? Like, how does this not happen? A recession has to come in because oil will get stuck. Even if oil somehow, with the strategic reserves, you get through a month or 2 months, because the Middle East cannot generate petrodollars anymore. Let me just show you this, right? Middle East petrodollars. This is all you have to Google, right? It just comes out, right? How important to the US economy. There's a book that you should read about that I've talked about in the last one as well. It's called The World for Sale. It explains all of this so much. Like, just look at this. It's crucial to the US economy, right? So this is where the US's demand comes from. And it's not just that. If you notice, this dollar surpluses goes into the US Treasury securities and financial assets, including the equity market. And we're talking trillions here. So that is basically re-rating the entire US market, even if the fundamentals stay good, even if the air companies perform well, even if everything goes well, even if oil flows. Well, if oil flows, then petrodollars come in. But if oil does not flow, that's the only thing. If oil does not flow from the Strait of Hormuz, then we see the US economy getting crippled from every direction. They cannot cut rates because inflation will come in. Oil at 120, 130 is basically hyperinflation. It's not just inflation. So the central bank just goes out of the equation. They cannot do anything. They're paralyzed. Then we have money being pulled out. Forget about bringing more money in. Money being pulled out by Middle East nations because they need the money. They cannot generate more petrodollars. They need to worry about their security. They need to buy these interceptors. They need to buy a bunch of things to protect themselves. So in combination, everything just comes in to punch the US economy in the face. That's why a recession seems an almost certainty now. So Mayor, even if they start a ground offensive, it doesn't change anything, no? Even if they start a ground offensive, Iran can still keep the Hormuz Strait closed. The whole region around the Hormuz Strait is mountains. So if you look at the map, I'll come to the Adani Power question as well. Just 1 second. So let me just show you the map and tell you why geographically it's not possible. So this entire region, right? It's all mountains. This is the Hormuz Strait. And this entire region is mountains. So in those mountains, you can hide on all their missiles per se or drone launchers per se. They're truck mounted, right? All they need is a vehicle. And they don't even need a vehicle, to be honest. A drone can be flown out of a car. 3 men can lift it, right? It can be placed down. It can be assembled in a cave. It's so portable. So even if a ground offensive is launched, it doesn't change much. Now about Adani Power, right? So look, every stock is a sell right now. I think Adani Power is the best Adani company. When I remember the Adani stocks had fallen like a brick, it was here somewhere, I think. The only stock that had gone into, the only stock that I thought was here. The only stock that I said from the entire Adani group that I would buy into, I had a conversation about this with an HNI, my cousin, and I told him that the only stock to buy is Adani Power, nothing else. So from the Adani bracket, is this the best company? For me, definitely. But right now, at this price, I don't think I would be buying in. Because for a power company, it is a bit overvalued at 22, 23 P. Plus, Adani's exposure to Iran is kind of big. I remember talking about this 2 weeks back when the war was just about to start. I said that Adani Ports is a short that nobody's discussing but will give good returns. I did make a decent amount of money in it, but I have booked out of this just because I wanted to reduce my position. So would I buy Adani Power? No. Would I sell right now? It's not a bad time to book profits for me. Like, I'm someone who likes to sit in cash in this time frame. But if you're looking at a 10, 20, not even 10, 20, even if you're looking at like a year, 2 year down the line, then I don't see Adani Power doing poorly as long as the BJP government remains in power. Shouldn't be that big a problem. No, so user OW, I don't know your name there. Please let me know your name. But 6 months is not max. They said 6 months is minimum. The quote was we can fight for at least 6 months, and they don't need to. If they can fight for 2 months, then the strategic oil reserves that the G7 is releasing, they run out. I was looking at the calculation today. I think the capacity, the total oil consumption of the world is about 110 billion barrels. Let's just leave it 100 million barrels. Let's say 100 million barrels. The total strategic reserve is Basit. So the total strategic reserve Basit is 1.3 billion barrels, right? So that means 13 days is all. That's the total. What they're planning to release is 400 million barrels. That's 4 days worth. For the entire world, we are choking about 20%, let's say, más o menos. And even if you take some Venezuelan oil or this oil or that oil that is in the oceans, the final calculation had come down to 3 to 4 weeks. That even if they release these strategic reserves, the world can manage 3 to 4 weeks, and the prices will still be higher. It's not like strategic reserves se tel nikal rahe to they won't charge a higher price. They will charge a higher price. So if this drags on for 6 months, Nifty is at 18,000 easy. Then we're looking at one of the biggest recessions that I have seen. I don't count 2008 as something I've seen because I was only 16, 17 years old then. I wasn't fully aware of everything, but it would be bigger than COVID for sure. It would last 6, 9 months. 6 months, if they can carry it, 3 months is enough. If the Strait of Hormuz stays closed for 3 months, it's pandemonium. It has to open in the next 1 to 2 weeks max. Something's going to happen, one side or the other. I don't see what happens in the good way. That is what I've been asking everyone. Give me something. What can happen? I'm literally putting it out there. Anyone give me one idea of how this war could end, how the Strait of Hormuz could be opened. I'm all there to listen. So Basit, Adani Power benefits from coal, but then you have Coal India, right? Like if you want to look at a coal beneficiary, the problem though becomes now that these are emergency situations. So if you notice ONGC today, it should technically be rising, right? Like oil is going up, and for the foreseeable future, it looks like it's going to stay quite up. And gas, both, right? Gas though has skyrocketed, but it also saw some corrections, right? The reason is pretty simple. When we get into situations like these, the government comes in with measures. The government might come in and say that no, we'll not pay extra, right? Your margins are going to go down, you're going to take a loss, and we'll figure it out later. So, okay, so I thought about that. And so, Meher, the reason that the insurance companies are not willing to insure is because Iran is blocking the Strait of Hormuz. And Basit, about their weapons not lasting, if you think Russia is not supplying weapons to Iran, then I have a Taj Mahal to sell you. It's a certainty. China might not be doing it. I have a feeling China is as well. That I'm not on first name terms with the presidents there. But if I was the anyone in Russia, I'm giving Iran everything. Because what happens if this war continues? Russia is the biggest beneficiary. Realize that, right? Their economy has been struggling for 5 years. And now their oil is trading at a premium to global oil. So everyone who's saying India is buying Russian oil at a discount, that's a lie. Russian oil is now trading at a $5 to $10 premium. Google it. And in fact, now Russian oil is being diverted to China. So it's even possible. This is might be taking it a step too far, but it's possible that Russia and China have a backhand deal. Russia is going to be giving Iran, they have a direct border with Iran. Yeah? It's a tiny little water body they have to cross, and they can send them hundreds of billions dollars worth of weapons. And that's it. So the weapons not lasting, they might not have missiles to hit Israel. Maybe I can believe that. But just to keep Hormuz, it's a 200-kilometer strait. There are drones you can buy on Amazon that will work that long. The Caspian Sea. Thank you. Yeah, very smart. The Caspian Sea is all that separates, and Russia has complete control over it. So they have no issue sending weapons. And just to block that strait, 200 kilometers, the worst EVs on the market have a range bigger than that. All you need is a drone. One drone on one ship is attacked, insurance companies won't give any insurance. And if there is no insurance, the ships don't flow. So to keep the Strait of Hormuz blocked, if Iran wants to, nobody can stop them from doing that. It's their land, right? They know the geography. They've been preparing for this for decades. The entire time that the land invasion changes nothing. What are you going to do? You can't go into every cave in the mountain, right? Imagine it's a mountain and then you're at ground level. How many troops are you going to send just to get up one mountain? Do you remember how many people India lost just to get back one peak? And that was just Pakistan, and that was a different era when weapons around weren't that great. It doesn't work. It's mountains all around. It can't work. It's a huge stretch. So the strait is only 200 kilometers, but the border around it is huge. So if you have a drone with a 500-kilometer range, you can fire that drone from 500 kilometers away, right? How many troops are you going to spend? You can't. You're going to send the entire US Army to cover a 500-kilometer stretch. It will take you months, if not years, to clear it out. They tried it in Afghanistan, did not work. Tried it in Vietnam, did not work. It's not going to work here either. You can't go into countries with such geographies and change that. That is my whole point. I don't see how it ends. Maybe there is something, because I'm still learning. I'm not as smart as the folks sitting in those offices. So maybe they figure something out. Who knows? But honestly, I can't see it. I've never in my life have I been in a situation where I thought of possibilities and I could not come up with a possibility on the other side. There's always a counter argument. This is the first time that I've taken a position in the market and I can't come up with a counter argument. How does the Strait of Hormuz remain closed? Open up, sorry. The strategic oil reserves was an out of the syllabus thing. I hadn't prepared for that. The new supreme leader lost his mother, father, and wife in the bombing. Tell me, would you make a deal? Any power in the world could convince you to make that deal when you know you were hurting them and the other person isn't apologizing. He's laughing and making fun of those deaths. So he's not going to make a secret deal. Unless he's, well, I don't know. But I doubt that. I really doubt that. Sons, fathers, and mothers, wives, that's all the relationships. So I guess I have to concede if he's the terrible, the worst of worst human beings. But to be honest, the fact that he was elected tells me that he's not going to make a deal. Because they've elected the hardliner. They had options. They could have chosen so many people who could have taken a middle ground, right? If that's where Iran was inclined. But just the fact that they chose this tells me that Iran isn't even thinking about this. Remember when President Peshkian, who's the current president of Iran, when he came out and he apologized to his neighbors, to the UAE, Bahrain, and everyone. Within hours, you had IRGC commanders coming out and saying that this was a disgrace to the country. And that's openly, right? Like they're openly saying that. So you can imagine what the mood is inside, right? They're not ready. They're not even thinking about surrender. They're thinking about making the West pay. They killed an equivalent to our prime minister there, if not bigger, right? Our prime minister isn't a faith leader. He's an elected leader who some people love, some people hate, but a faith leader inspires their young men to die for him, literally to tie a bomb to their chest and go kaboom, to leave their families and live in desolate lands. That's how much he inspired those people. And he was killed. Whether he was wrong or right is not of concern to us here, sadly. But he did create that. Those people are not going to settle. So that's the point. I don't see an exit route for anyone there. Now, where does it end, right? Like, what is the base case scenario here? I think we might see a rebound, though I really don't like this chart. You know what this chart shows me? It just shows me that there was mild short covering. That's all it was. Not short covering out of fear, profit booking in shorts. That also happens, right? That's what this chart shows me. If there was a change of trend, the lines should have been much sharper and much bigger. This sustenance at all levels, right? This is proper people coming in, shorting, booking profits, shorting, booking profits, shorting, booking profits. I did the same. To be honest, I didn't want to. It was just out of discipline, but it still looks like a shorter's market. Now, given the fact that it's slipped below its both its moving averages, is definitely not a good sign. But we still don't have a death crossover. I think we're far. Do you know what death crossover is? Do you want me to explain it? Just let me know in the comments if you want me to explain it. This is what a death crossover is, right? Once it crosses down here, you know there's a downside coming. So I think we lost what, some 5% in a week about here, right? So that's a death crossover means we lose much more. There's no doubt we lose at least 5% more. Perfect. So you know what the death crossover is, and I expect to see that. I expect to see that. We might have mild short coverings, but honestly, everything about this chart tells me that. Tell me how does it stop? Where does it stop? This 24,300 is taken out. It's below the support. Next support is 22,000. It should come there, or it would not have taken out 24,300. Now anything can happen, but I don't see it stopping before 22,000 medium term. Short covering ho sakti hai. I don't think zyada hoga. What do? I make money out of the markets, yeah. You want to know everything about me? I made some money with GMAT Coaching Institute, and then I started investing it. Then since I was about 7 years old, I think I was doing this with my dad. He was a stockbroker, he was an investor. So I started learning from him at 6-7 years old, and I was typing these codes when we had analog screens. There were no websites to do this. So you had a terminal that cost a lot of money. In that period, it cost like lakhs to keep. And you had to take printouts of all the deals you'd made and then send it to your head broker. So every broker had a head broker to send it to them, and they would collate it, and then you get a final. So deliveries didn't happen in one day. Then deliveries happened in weeks. Then, if I'm not wrong, I don't remember the exact time. I was very young. So since then, I'd been seeing the market, but at about 30, I moved into it full time. So for the past 5 years, I've only been working on the stock market. I've published a couple of books. I have a book called How I Scored a 760 in 7 days on GMAT. I was working with Jambori for a couple of years and all that. I started my own coaching institute and all that. I have a second book coming up on the financial markets. It's called The Active Investor. It should be out in a couple of months. It's with the publisher. They're taking time. But well, so it should be out soon. So yeah, this is it. Like right now, all I do is just financial markets, medium to long-term positional financial markets. So I've already created my positions. This is, I have a couple of people there now. So I'm just going to confirm the name here. Basit, right? Yeah. So Basit, I've already created my shorts. They were OMCs, gold loan companies, PSU banks, metals, and the L&T Finance and Bajaj Finances of the world, right? NBFCs. Mostly it's that. There's a couple of, there's BL that I'm short on, but that's a much longer time frame short. I'm thinking 2 to 3 years, I'm going to hold that short. Then there's also, I just thought of something I forgot now. So yeah, so most of these shorts were built like 3 months back. Some of them were built 2 months back. I've always been updating that here. Now, LT Foods is in trouble, Mr. Birla. The problem is, one is the fertilizer side of things, and the second is that their biggest export market is the Middle East. At least for basmati rice, it's one of the biggest export markets. So any of these rice stocks, basmati rice stocks, I would be careful with. If you want to talk about the technicals, I can take a look. Not a financial advisor though. So right, do your own research. Oof. Yeah. It doesn't look too good, no? I mean, the support comes in. There's a pretty hefty support here. 345 about 10% down from here. There's a pretty strong support there. I'd expect it to at least bounce from there, but I feel like this is more a turn of a cycle. See here, what happened here? 18, right? 104 all the way down, then the cycle starts. Might be something like that. So what would be a plan of action? My plan of action, I could very well be wrong, right? My idea is I wouldn't buy it because I don't expect it to go 5x from here. For that, I would buy it at these prices, right? Or now I would buy it at maybe these prices. At 150 about, I'd say, yeah, maybe it can give me a 5x return. But at 400, it's not going to give me a 5x return in 2 years or 3 years, even 2 or 3 years. So it doesn't make sense for me to buy into it. About selling, If I was owning it, I'd at least sell half. That's what I would do. At least book my profits, at least take my cost out so only my profits are in it. That kind of thing. Because the market it's very weak. It's very weak, even though we've seen some movements. So Oil India, ONGC could bounce. Um, will they get a sustained rise? No, because you have to understand one thing, my friend. Look, Prasad, right now the market isn't just crashing because of the crude oil, right? This has been building up for a while. There is a liquidity problem in the world that has existed for good 2 years. Now, on a longer time frame, the last 2 years have been distribution. 1.5 years, that have been just distribution, where stocks have moved from the hands of promoters, um, ultra HNIs to DIIs and retail investors. And now what's happening is a culmination of all that. So the war aside, right? The war is just panic selling, right? The war aside, what is happening here is there isn't any money to raise assets up. So think about it. Forget about crude. If a war as big as this breaks out, the first thing that should happen is gold should rise, right? But gold isn't rising because why? Everyone who was supposed to buy it has bought it, and now there is no liquidity. Nobody has the money to go in to buy a safe haven asset because they're already invested. If they had to buy gold, they've bought gold. If they had to buy bonds, they've bought bonds. In fact, right now, bonds are becoming more popular because they seem safer. Can Nifty be 18,000? I think my don't make me say it. um, Look, if I'm being completely honest with you, and this is in no way me saying that this will happen, but the record of financial markets is that at the reset of a cycle, financial markets bottom at the peak of the previous cycle. So if we assume that this was the peak of the previous cycle, then this is technically, or at least going by history, this is where the markets should bottom. 18,400 about should be the bottom. Like at this point, there is no reason to not buy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying this is where it will go. I'm saying 18,000, 19,000 is a range that if that breaks, I would be extremely, extremely surprised. So can it go to 19,000? I think the odds have increased significantly. But will it go that far or not? We'll have to wait and see. If you just ask me in a one word answer, yes or no, I'll say yes. I think it will. Now, it could happen in the next 2 months. It could happen 6 months later. I don't think we'll have to wait. The bottoming out should happen in the next 6 months maximum. So, could it go? Yeah. Am I playing for that? No. My shorts will be cut by the time Nifty reaches 22,000, 21,000. I'll stay out. I'll stay in cash. If it continues falling, let it fall. I don't mind. I'll miss out the last 10% of Nifty's fall. I'll miss out on 10% on my portfolio returns, of 20% of my portfolio returns. I'm okay with that. But that's a kind of market that you don't want to be short on or long on. So I won't play for that, but yes, definitely can happen. So Adityan, I would buy Irida. If I'm going for green energy, if I'm going for renewable energy, then Irida is the place to be. Right? It's a PSU stock, so you know it's safe. Its book is pretty clean. The government backs it completely, right? If it gets NPS, you know that the government is going to come in and back it. And it trades at good valuations. It's very well corrected. So why wouldn't I buy into it? No, I'm not a C. I have a lot of CAs in my family. I have a master's in entrepreneurship, but no, not a C. I've gotten a degree in finance, financial analysis, and a bunch of other things that relate to the stock market. But as such, if you ask me what my core profession was, it was a master's in entrepreneurship was my core education. But yeah, Godfrey Phillips. Right, let's see. Look, it's very well corrected. It can never hurt to buy at these prices, to be honest. Like now that I see it, it wasn't on my radar, but now that I see it, I feel like it wouldn't hurt for me to dip my feet in it if it reaches 1,500 about. Not at these prices. There are better stocks, right? There's definitely better stocks. Because cigarettes as a whole aren't as popular as they were. With the coming generation, so I have a lot of kids here in my society who I'm friends with because I play football a lot. These guys play football a lot, so we play together, and these guys talk a lot, right? I've never seen any of them talk about smoking, or I've never seen them smoke or anything like that, right? It's not really a trend with this generation. And given that Marlboro is their main brand and that's a premium cigarette, then the demand that might persist will not really be beneficial for them. So long term, I wouldn't want to be in cigarette stocks because the trend seems to change. The same thing applies to alcohol stocks. Alcohol isn't just as popular anymore. Now, maybe if recession hits and everyone gets sad, things change. I hope not, but I wouldn't be in this sector as a whole. But given that it's corrected so much and it is a very established company, I mean, I don't know if I'll sell at these prices if I'm investing. What was your pricing? At what price did you buy into it? So let's say if you look at IRIDA quickly, right? Wait, I had something else to show you. So there's a G7 meeting update, right? Let's see if something's happened. We don't really have an answer. Pardon me. Just a second. So they haven't released it. That means crude oil must have responded. If they haven't released, then crude oil must be rising back up. No, it isn't. Not yet, at least. So let's see. If they haven't tapped into the strategic oil reserves, that's very doubtful. So IRIDA at 114, I don't see harm in it. Like at 60, 80, I'll be more comfortable. But at 114, long term, it can't hurt. Long term, it really cannot hurt you. Godfrey Phillips at 1500, which means it's cost to cost. See, it depends on the time horizon. If it was me, if I'm taking a stock in delivery, I take a delivery if I'm looking at least a 100% return in a year, or if I'm looking at keeping that stock forever. Those are the two kind of deliveries I take. Godfrey will give me neither. I'm not going to get a 10 bagger out of Godfrey in the next 10 years. That's a given. Like I'm almost certain that's not going to happen. It's not going to give me 100% return in 1 to 1.5 years. I'm not going into it. 50% bhi hoga 1 year mein, I can go into it. I don't see either of that happening. So for me, it's not really a buy. For me, it's not really a stock I want to go into. If the markets turn, which sector will respond first? That's what I want to go into, right? Metals. Metals will go in first. How? That's very creepy. How did you come up with that number? So I have liquid. Yes, I have half my portfolio completely liquid, and about 60% of the other half, which means total like 30 to 40% of my portfolio used for shorts. So, and about 20% of that left as margin in case my shorts go wrong. I should have enough to hold, and I'm always ready to pull back in. When the market bottoms, I feel like a bull market is coming in, then I'm going to go all in with a lot of futures positions. I think there's no other way to really make money in this market other than using leverage trading, but very well. Wow. So Subhashish, I've made many videos on this, but you've asked about this. I'll just tell you one from every sector that I like, that I can just think of off the top of my head, and we can go with that. So data centers, maybe Anantaraj, or even hemisphere properties. I don't think many people discuss hemisphere properties for data centers, but they have a massive land bank. And this is land bank that can be used for data centers. So someone someday is going to make a deal. I might hold for it. But in terms of data centers, I'm going for companies with land, right? Now, I can also go for these second tier providers, right? The EPCs. So there you would have the likes of your ABBs and all that. But it's not really fun to invest in those companies at this time. It's a very volatile environment. So I would go for land banks there, Anantrajas and hemisphere properties of the world. For AI, it is NetWeb or Escanet, one of the two. If you want to go more downstream, meaning the software providers, then maybe we could look at Tata Elxsi to some extent because they're doing very unique things. We could also look at Persistent Systems. They're doing a good job. But again, Persistent is very expensive. I'll get to Inox India. It's a good company. About drone stocks, I'm very skeptical now. See, what's happening is, pardon me, the whole world is realizing how harmful drones can be. There was no counter system to them yet. I feel like a counter could be built any day now. There are testings already happening. There's words about this. You see one or two articles coming up about it. So any day we could just have drones becoming not very useful. So in the drone sector, I wouldn't go for defense drones. I'd take another route and I'd go for how can I forget the name of this company? It's an agricultural company that works in this. Okay, so the drone stock, I'll have to get back to you. I'm just losing out on the name of the company. Abhi. Um, for banking, none. Banking, there's nothing. When the market turns, maybe J&K Bank, depending on the political scenario. Water management, Ion Exchange is probably the best in the business, but you could go for Vatek Vabag or EMS. For defense, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Our entire defense sector is massively overvalued. We cannot deliver what the market thinks we can deliver. HAL, we've already seen what happened with HAL. We talked about Tejas. I had some very smart people that I know. My brother-in-law, I know him. He's an extremely smart guy. He runs a chemical firm, a firm that makes chemicals, not listed, but makes them. An extremely smart man. He thought we could get fifth gen fighters in a year or 2 years, which is crazy. So defense, I would buy into absolutely nothing. Technology, I have my eye on Oracle, OFSS. That's what I have my eye on. I'm test checking it again and again and again. I think two reasons there. One is it's corrected well. It's an Oracle subsidiary. So if any company is going to be safe from the AI thingy, it's going to be Oracle. You know that the company's got the best talent in the world. And if they want to build or work with AI, they'll find a way to work with AI. Second, it has a good dividend yield. So if I'm going into technology, for me right now, it's OFSS. I haven't invested in it. The market will evolve. I will make videos and I'll talk about it in life. But that's what I like. Alcohol, I would buy nothing. Currently, the next generation isn't very into alcohol, so it doesn't make sense for me to try to get into it. Right? If that changes in some way, if I see signs of it, then maybe. But otherwise, it makes no sense. For traveling, look, Indian Hotels is the only real company. You have Taj GVK and all that. Of course, I'm not going to go into the intermediaries, right? The ones who make your tickets and the planning, the Thomas Cooks of the world. I'm not going to go into them. Those companies are very cyclical. When liquidity is high, wo badhte hain. Otherwise, they just do nothing. So Indian Hotels, Taj GVK and everyone, they have been re-rated a little too much. We will see hotel prices crater. It's about time for hotel prices to crater. So Taj GVK, these prices, no, not really. Not really. So again, hotels, I don't think I'll go into anything. There are so many better sectors. Why would I wait with hotel? Pharma, Sanofi, but you have to make a very smart choice with the consumer sector, right? So it's a very solid company. It gives out a very good dividend, and when the market is in trouble, the company pays extra dividend. It has a history. It's such a nice company. Like I remember 2021 when the market had crashed, 2021, 22, I had kept Sanofi and I remember getting massive dividends from them, bigger than I ever expected. And it felt so good to just get that credit because I had managed to touch wood do decently with that period as well, managed to spot that coming in. But I was still invested in cash. I hadn't learned the fact that I can just sell as much as I want, right? I can make my portfolio zero. I hadn't understood that fact till then because everyone in the news kept saying, don't sell, you can't buy again. I realized that later I could easily have sold and bought back. It takes 2 minutes. Why can't I sell everything and buy everything in the same day if I want? Well, next day. So I had learned that by then. And Sanofi really, it gave me that one moment of peace there when I suddenly saw dividend coming in. So I have a soft spot for it. It's a brilliant company as well, right? French parent company, is a brilliant company. Biotech, there is. See, I'm forgetting so many names away. There is is it Aurobindo Pharmas? Wait, let me see. Biotech research stocks. Let's see if I can find it. I don't want to hold on to too much. Yes, there it is. Spark is the company. So they have been. This company has been talking about doing something brilliant for a very long time, and it's available at a very good price. This is the reason why I wanted to buy into this company for biotech. Something is coming. That's the sense I get by looking at this chart. I don't have any inside news. I don't have any channel checks, but that's what the chart is telling me. Why is this company bottoming out, right? Like way before everything else started falling. It started falling in April. I feel like something is brewing on the inside. This is not a new company. So कुछ वो ACB प्रॉथमोल बोलते थे ना कुछ तो गड़बड़ है So there's something happening here. Wow. And hospitals, Rainbow Children's Hospital and Narayan Hridayalaya, both. So Rainbow because kids, right? Parents of our generation are very different. I'm a new parent, and we want to raise our kids as perfectly as we possibly can. Money no matter, right? Like I know people who take a loan just to get their kids a better toy. So this generation is very different with parenting. So Rainbow Children's Hospital is a must-have in any portfolio. It's a 15% down, buy 15% down, buy 15% down, buy. I would The only stock I would allocate to 5% of my portfolio that we've talked about today of all the stocks. This is the only stock I'd give 5% of my portfolio in a high risk environment. So Rainbow Children's Hospital is there, and then Narayan Hridayalaya because they are kind of revolutionizing the hospital experience. They're keeping it cheap, but not overcrowded. When I say overcrowded, I mean waiting times. Of course, it's overcrowded, but they're reducing waiting times, and they're known for their delivery. Now, if you're going pure play leader, Apollo. Max is great. Max ka problem is that it's very heavily dependent on medical tourism and the high ticket client, right? Its general image is that. Apollo, on the other hand, is very diversified. It's not just about the hospital side. It's also about the lab tests. It's also about the app that gives you medicines in half an hour. So Apollo seems like a more holistic company, right? Like a hydra with many heads. If one business does poorly, the other still manages to balance it out. Max के साथ वो problem है. So hospitals में there are three good stocks to go into at the right time though. Inox India I haven't seen in a while. I'm not looking at stocks, to be honest. I'm not looking at the stocks I want to buy either abhi because I'll get attracted to the. I just want to buy. No, I think it has to fall more. It has to fall a little bit more. It's a brilliant company, no doubt about it. If India has a green energy future, Inox India has a future. So I would definitely look at it. JK Bank, yes, definitely. I've been looking at it for a while, but political scenario matters a lot. If geopolitical politics supports it, if the BJP government stays in the center, that's very important for JK Bank, not for me. For Jammu and Kashmir Bank, it's very important that BJP stays in the center. So that's a bit of a thing. Paras defense, no. Multiple problems. Overvalued defense stock, drones, no. I wouldn't go into it. So swing trading, Adityan, there's a book on it. I think it's just called Swing Trading. I think it has a green cover. I don't have it with me. I think I read it a long time back. So the thing is now with swing trading, the only guidance I can give you is you got to pick your element. Like my element is macroeconomy. I'm good. I think I'm decent at technicals as well. I'm good at reading fundamentals. Of course, you have to read a balance sheet. You have to know how the whole market works. Like if you're investing in chemicals company, you have to know the entire life cycle of that product. So you have to be able to do that research and all that. Wo basic skills hai. But out of all this, out of macroeconomy, fiscal policy, sector specific knowledge, technicals, balance sheet analysis, out of all this, you have to pick one thing that you are unbeatable at. Someone can do as good as you, nobody can do better than you. For me, that's macroeconomy. I can confidently say nobody will analyze macroeconomy better than me. They'll know more. I'm not talking about the Ajay Baggas of the world, of course, right? I'm talking about people with my level of experience, people who are trying to do what I'm trying to do. At that level, nobody does macroeconomy better than me. As good as me? Sure. Overall better trader than me? Sure. Overall better investor than me? Sure. There must be hundreds, I'm sure. But macroeconomy, you don't beat me. That way, you have to find something that you are the best at. Any of these things, and pick that thing to make it the basis of all your trades. If it's technicals, be technicals. Then you're setting stop losses, you're setting targets, you're automating your trading. Then you're not sitting in front of a computer screen and looking at the price ticker move. Then it's automated trading. If it's fundamentals, great. Then you're going for longer time frames, right? 6 months, 1 year, 2 year time frames. Then you're taking a delivery and you're leaving it, or you're working in futures, leaving significant margin. But pick one element of all these elements that you master to a point of no fault. 24,400 ka call, it's a tough thing. You might get something tomorrow because crude oil has fallen, and because there's generally a fatigue, right? When the market crashes 7-8% in a week to in 6 days, there's going to be a fatigue in shorts as well. So you might get some kind of pullback tomorrow, but the problem is when the market rises now, volatility will fall. So in this kind of a market, buying calls is the worst thing you can do. Understand this, right? When you buy a call, you're betting on the market to go up, right? When the market goes up, VIX falls. And your call ka price is completely dependent on the VIX, right? At least majorly dependent on the VIX. So if anything is to be bought in a volatile market where you see downside risks, it should be puts, because puts will fall. And if anything should be sold, it should be calls, right? Because every time the market goes up, VIX falls. So why would you buy a call? I'm sorry, I don't mean to come out as strong, but the idea is that never do that again. Never buy a call when the market is highly volatile. Sell a call, buy a put. If neither of those work, don't do anything. That works. Does that make sense? Do let me know your name, cricket videos or movies. All right, let me know your name. Parth, just a second. Right, so Parth, I think I added a comment on the video as well. Someone else asked me this question. It's a brilliant question. The problem is the setup that India has and the setup that China has are very different. One is we don't have enough charging points. That's one of the biggest problems, right? The network, the logistical network of just the charging infrastructure, all the heavy words aside, just the charging infrastructure in China is much better than India's. That's one. Second, most of our batteries are still imported. If one big battery is 100, 80 of that is still imported. So that means that cost still sits with us. Now it's very expensive to manage that. Final problem, like we now have your gift cities and these particular areas designated for certain industries, right? China's been doing that for decades. So there, when you talk about logistics, the truck knows that it has to go from here to here and back from here to here. Here, what we have to do is A to B to C to D to E to F to A. There are too many stops to make. There are too many detours to take. There are too many hubs. We don't have the right logistical model, which is what the government had suggested, I think, 2 budgets back. Till we build that, we can't really assume that EVs will work. So for heavy transport, especially, Indian vehicles are not good enough. Forget about everything else. Our EVs are not good enough. The EVs that our Ashok Leylands are making, they're not good enough to do heavy work. They're not efficient enough as China's EVs are. That's another problem. I was thinking about shorting Vedanta today, Sniper. Just give me 1 second. I was in fact thinking about shorting Vedanta. The only reason I did not short it is because there's this news of this split and everything else. So it becomes a little too risky. Any news-driven 10% circuit could happen. Otherwise, this is an ideal stock to short. I know many people will look at it and say all new highs, it's not falling, but I think counterintuitively there, right? Like my general style here would be contra trading. I would think there's no fundamental reason for Vedanta to be sitting high and mighty there, right? The market is collapsing. This is a high debt company even today, and it's exposed to so much of the economy. If the economy slows, this is one of the stocks that should be hit the worst. So there's no reason for it to be sitting there. It has not priced in any risk. And I think the reason is just that they have this whole split and everything coming in. That's why nobody wants to short it. Nobody wants to sell it. What if it happens and it goes to 1,000? Or you get 5 stocks and all of them combined give you a 1,000 ka value. So that could happen, which is why I haven't shorted it, but I wouldn't buy at these prices. Grow, too many people in that field, Birla. I mean, just think about how many discount brokers and mutual fund providers and small case providers you have. You could Google and you won't run out. You'll get to the second, third page, you'll still have providers. Why would Grow do well? In fact, I'm indirectly connected to the guy who created this company. I don't know him personally. So if anything, I have a reason to like the company. But it doesn't make sense. Whether it's Grow, whether it's Zirodha, whether it's, I don't even know, there's many other names. I don't think there's any reason to go into it. I don't have a course yet, Abhishek. I'm not big enough. Hopefully, if you guys like me enough, you'll make me big enough in the future. But a course to learn the stock market, it depends on what you want to do. But there is a course by Stanford on Coursera. It's taught by this guy who's, I think I'm very tired today because I'm forgetting all the names. Schiller. Yeah, Robert Schiller, I think. Right? Robert Schiller. This course by Schiller from Stanford. That's the basics of financial markets. It's just called Financial Markets by Stanford, I think. That's a good place to start. It'll explain all asset classes to you. It'll tell you how bonds work, how futures work, how options work, what is the logic behind it all, the entire history of the stock market. And I did take that course like 6 months back because I saw Mr. Schiller. He's the guy who invented the Schiller PE. Even today, the housing market in the US is is compared on his model, is worked on his model. He's a genius of a man. And his course took me like 3 days to complete. And I still learned so much. After having spent decades in this industry, I still learned a lot. It's a pleasure, Subhash. Feel free to ask more here. So, Aarti, drugs. If I get tired enough that I can't think straight, I'll just let you guys know and we'll do it again. Good time to buy. Honestly speaking, good time to buy. Like, I would be interested in this company. I don't know enough about the business, disclaimer, but I would be interested in this company. Right? Like, if you know enough about it, if you know that they have a strong enough business to do it, like they're not export dependent, their raw material is not dependent on the areas that are currently choked. Their products do have demand, no direct competition coming in, management issues to nahi hone chahiye. It's a very old company, but still, just those basic checks. But based on price action, very good time to buy. It's very similar to Aarti Industries. No? I bought into Aarti Industries some time back. It was right at the bottom. I was lucky there. I think 350 can only over. Right at the bottom, I bought into it. Not heavy. I just bought like 100, 200 shares a bit. Like just dipped my toe in just so that it's in my portfolio and I see it in case I forget later. Something like that. Definitely not Sniper Dog. FANG ETF is something that I would stay 500 steps away from. If this Middle East liquidity crisis is to hit us, then those stocks are the ones that will fall the most. FANG ETF se to abhi to nahi. Maybe when things get clearer, or if you're a very high risk investor, then it's up to you. But if you ask me, I like to protect my money more than I like to make money. It's a very simple funda. If I can protect my money, the markets will make money for me. Eventually, bana hi denge markets paise. But I won't buy into FANG. So the thing about IRDA, right, their loan book is going to grow. There is no way around it, Adityan. Right? Like, we know green energy is going to become a thing for the world. We don't have enough renewable and non-renewable energy to power the world anymore, especially with AI coming in. Nuclear power is the only way to meet AI requirements in the short term, but at the same time, you need to meet requirements for other people as well, right? How do you electrify all the villages in India or Africa, right? And the kind of plans that the world has for solar power, because solar power is very dependent on, well, the sun. So every country can't build solar power. So we're going to move into a world where there'll be electricity hubs from where electricity is transported everywhere, and India is smack dab center there. We had a few plans as well with the US and the other countries to build that. वो सब तो बहुत long term हो गया. But renewable energy has to become a thing. Alternative energy has to become a thing. And IRDA is always going to be involved because that's the financier. You can get rid of everyone. You can't get rid of the financier. You can get a new supply chain guy. You can get someone else to install. You can get someone else to set up the towers. Everything else can happen. But the one who's giving out money will have to be IRDA because that's the government. Nobody's going to give it to you cheaper. Okay, Ad County Media. I didn't know Ashish Koshulia invested in it. Ramit, this is not the bottom. I mean, I would be very surprised. I'm human. I could be wrong. This can't be the bottom. Even if it is a temporary bottom and the Iran thing ends somehow through a miracle, we talked about it for 20 minutes today. I don't see how that miracle happens. But even if somehow ends, something else will come in. AI will come in, private credit will come in, something else will come in. Now the market is so fragile that it takes a poke. Pele, you could hit the market with a hammer and it would survive. Now it's in a position where a poke would hurt it. Our DIs are also running out of money. They don't have a lot of dry powder left. Hold which one, Sniper? Just checking. FANG ETF. I wouldn't. Eternal, I'm short on. I've been short on Eternal for a good 6 months now, like 4 months, 6 months, somewhere there. I'm still short on it. There's no reason for it to. It's an app. That's what Eternal is. You can create it online today. It has a market. It has established itself, but the entry barrier isn't big enough. Like I have switched away from Blinkit to handpicked for all my veggies and fruits now. I don't want to order off of Blinkit. I'll order off of handpicked because it gives me better fruits. They tell me it's clean. That's just my logic, but I didn't feel bad. You know what I mean? There's no personal connection. So there is no barrier to change. So we kind of overestimate how big Zomato should be. That's what I feel. That's what Rakesh Jhunjhunwala also said, by the way. That's what many experts have said. People who've had long time in the market, maybe because I learned from people like them when I was younger. But no, Eternal should not have the market cap it does. There is absolutely no reason for an app that connects delivery drivers to get you food at a 10 rupee per order to do this. I can't predict that, John. So generally, any mutual fund is advised to keep 3 to 5% as dry powder. You have to, not dry powder to invest, but you have to keep 3 to 5% of the total AUM in case of withdrawals. That's like a regulation, fiscal responsibility regulation, right? Now, I don't think they have much left now. They've already had to invest some 30,000 crores what over in the last week. Kitna hoga unke paas dry powder? They don't disclose it, obviously. They won't directly disclose it. But how much can they really have? They've been buying for 1.5 years. And now people don't have money. That's the bigger problem. They don't have new money coming in. जो SIPs है वो है ठीक है, बट उसके अलावा जो नया बल्क पैसा आता था वो नहीं जा रहा ना. So नया पाउडर निकलेगा भी नहीं. Ad counting media I'll get to, Ramit, 2 minutes. It'll take time. इसीलिए I'm just finishing off the rest of the questions. I was short on HDFC AMC at, I think I shorted it 5,500 or so, somewhere there. 5,500, 5,600. I booked out at 4,900, meaning it had obviously split and all that. I'm just remembering that calculation. But if the market is going to fall, AMC stocks are going to fall, right? You're right, Krishna. AMC stocks make for a good short at the right time. I think it's at 4,800, 4,700, 800, sorry. So it was at 5,000. It's split now. So yeah, I had shorted here about, I think 5,500. I don't even remember. It's split kiya 1:6 hai fir to. Yeah, so at this point, I don't know. Seems risky to short at this point, but yeah, they have to suffer. They've got to. Sorry, Tapi. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. This makes much more sense. Not 2,400. So 1-to-1 split. Yeah, so my short was 5,500 about somewhere here, I think. The stock split. It was supposed to be 5,500. Now it's like two stocks of 27. So there's a support here, 2,400, but they have to suffer. And iska chart bhi waisa hi hai. Like it's always been an up and down. So I wouldn't be surprised if it makes bottom somewhere around 1,800. Yeah, they have to get hurt a little bit. Yale, yes, Krishna, you're right. He's Yale, he's not Stanford. Sorry, that was my bad. Financial markets ka course from Yale, from Coursera. Correct. Thank you. Right. So, Adityan, the idea behind it's a very good question. First up, the idea behind going for IRIDA is that Adani and Tata will also go to IRIDA. That's my whole point. Adani isn't going to finance itself, right? It's not going to take that money ka risk. No? If it's going to spend they claim 100 billion here, 100 billion here, even if he spends 10,000, 20,000 crores, nobody's going to use their own money. I wouldn't if I was in their shoes. I'm not saying they're wrong. That's just how business is done. They're going to borrow. And who are they going to borrow from? The government. No bank is going to give them 30,000 crore for a 10-year project. They might, but they'll charge high interest rates. Who'll charge them the least? The government. And they have political backing, as you yourself said. So they don't. IRIDA isn't competing with Adani and Tata. IRIDA is the one making them do all this. No, Meher, I don't do that. No Telegram, no WhatsApp broadcasts. I never charge for this. I never give personalized advice that you should do this, you should do that. I'm not SEBI registered yet. And it's a dangerous thing to do as well, right? Like, to be honest, Meher, you should not take that from anyone else. I think one of the things from Warren Buffett that has stayed with me that I really, really stick by is the only way to make money in the stock market is to shut your door. Close your eyes to everything but yourself. You can listen to me. You can listen to 10 other YouTubers, 10 other market experts, and everyone else out there. But every decision you make should be made in the silence of your mind. It shouldn't be recommendations. I was preaching there, wasn't I? But I'm very emotional about that. So the Aditya Birla Group, look, I actually like, I'm curious you're Mr. Birla. I hope you're not Mr. Birla himself. It would be an honor to meet you, but I'd be giving advice to a great man. But look, ABFRL I like for the long term because they're moving away from their store-dominated play to more online and more diversified. In fact, today I ordered a dress for my wife, which it is by Ralph Lauren per se, but it came from ABFRL. I was so surprised. I looked at the bill, and it said Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail, and I thought I didn't order anything from them. And then I checked the detailed bill and mentioned that dress. So now I know that even these big brands, luxury brands, are working through ABFRL in the background. So they've become smart about it. The reason the stock suffered is because they just opened hundreds of stores, and stores just don't work anymore, right? Only for very custom fitted shopping, right? So Krishna, solar oversupply is a very real thing, right? There's no doubt about it. But do I think a Vare or a Premier can give me returns? Yeah, it can. It's a good hedge. I don't see a problem buying into them. See, the thing is now, many companies can enter, but let's see if a Reliance does this, they're not really going to do it to supply to others. They probably do it just for themselves. But to be honest, I don't think they'll go too far into it. These companies that work at the scale of a Reliance Industries, right? Unless they see that they will save ₹1 billion, ₹1 billion, not even dollars, right? 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore वो बचाएंगे, तभी वो बोलते हैं कि we'll set it up ourselves, because it's not just about building it, right? It's also about managing it. It's a distraction. There are norms, compliances, 500 different things. So I think there'll always be OEMs in this sector that will do well. And two of them you mentioned there, Premier Energies and Vari Energies. I think both of them do have a future. Might take time, but they do have a future. Now, something very interesting is going to happen, Abhi. I'm going to look at a stock that I'm seeing for the first time, and I'll just out loud analyze how I'm thinking about this, right? Where did this stock go? How did I miss it? Just mention it again, please, if you're here. You'd mentioned the stock that Mr. Ashish Kacholia bought into, right? Ad County Media. All right, let's take a look. Let's see how Ad County Media is going to do. Okay, first things first. Does it have a history? It's been around for not long enough. So the market hasn't found a price. That's a small red flag. Now it could mean the stock is undervalued, and at about 12p seems okay. It can't be expensive, whatever sector it's in. It's an SME, small red flag. Okay, let's see. The branding is covering branding and performance. But if it's in this business, it should have some huge clients. Otherwise, not really interesting. No, man, I don't think I'd be interested in the company. So this is my thinking, right? First, I just wanted to see if what I see about this stock is based in fact or could just be random, spewings out of the management. It doesn't have enough of a time history. It's only been listed for a year, about not even a year. So we don't know what its actual price is going to be. Second, this business is not the most sticky. Very easy to let go in this business, right? Someone gives you a better offer, better conversion, you move out, especially with a small company. Unless they created like a product that nobody else can match. I didn't see anything like that here. You understand what I mean? Like, this is very basic. Anyone can do it. I can do it for people. Of course, I won't be able to do it for big brands, but that's my point. Like, it has zero moat. The same problem with Eternal. Eternal still has some moat, at least. Its brand value is massive. But this company has zero moat. I don't want to be in that. Sorry about it, but no. Suzlon Energy. Guys, let me know if there's any other questions, please. We'll wrap this up in max 15 minutes now. I've been getting calls from my wife. I don't want to get a scolding. 39 is a support. 39.40 is a support. 2024 ka support. But look, so I know that this company is doing a good job because I remember researching it, and I know it's doing a good job. But right now, when I look at this chart, it just looks so scary that I can't even say I would buy into it. Like, I want to because the business is brilliant, but look at this, it's such a scary chart. At 39, maybe one tranche, small investment, total investment 1% of portfolio maximum. But the problem is I have better companies to go into. Like, why would I go into Suzlon Energy? Like, even high beta companies in this sector. Now, if you don't want to stick to just power, let's see. What would I go into? I could go into an SJVN. I could go into, well, even if I want just a high beta company, right? Even an SJVN is there. At least it's protected. At least I know it's not going broke. It's also very corrected. So would I buy Suzlon right now from this sector? No. Is it one of the best companies in that sector? Yeah, it's a very good company. Like, do I think if someone asks me, I'll give you Suzlon Energy at a 20% discount, I'll take it. Electra Green Tech. So in terms of, oh, sorry, I missed Janan's So Electra का buses का advantage है बात, right? Like it makes it does do that, and it does have a future. Depends on the pricing. Totally depends on what valuations I'm getting at. But my idea is picking the right sector at the right time is important. Uh, yeah, I don't see a major problem with it. It's a little expensive still. Let's look at what an average correction looks like, right? 860, and what about 430? That's half. And this is about halved here. And in the worst possible situation, which was what, oh 08, it went from 74 to 18. My goodness. So that's about up to 25%. So small cap, mid caps, because cycle abhi finish 1A. Like they haven't bottomed out at all. So would I buy into this company at this price? Not really. Like I'd buy into it at 465, at about half from here. I'm not saying it will go there. It might rise from here, but I'm just saying that as for me, I wouldn't buy into it at this price. It's still a good company, still a company with a future, no doubt about it. Yeah, we might see so I think someone had bought a call for 24,400. No, he mentioned here. That's what I said. That tomorrow might be a chance to cut that. Right? As far as my understanding of the markets goes, over the last year, we've seen every time that the markets fall for a week, 8 days, 9 days, and then they rebound because something happens. Mr. Trump comes up with a new tweet, or a government comes up with a new policy. This time, I don't see what anyone can do. Even the strategic oil reserves have not been released yet. That's a sign that something might be brewing in the background, or they would have released it. So, and then the crude oil is also falling. So, those are all signals that something's happening. Now, if Mr. Trump backs out all of a sudden, then oh man, yes, we'll see a massive short covering rally. And I'll be very happy that I booked some of my shorts today. But still, short to medium term, I'm talking maybe 2 months max. Now, a month and a half, there is still more downside. It's the system hasn't been cleansed yet. Like there are still people coming in and saying that war के बाद तो stock market बढ़ता ही. जब तक वो confidence नहीं टूटेगा ना, till people come to a point where they go, no, stock market is just horrible. Till you see that on the streets, it's not done. IEX, so everyone knows now, the business is very crippled now. I mean, think about it, Krishna. What margins would they have? Right? If there are three players competing, they already work on thin margins. Now you have three players competing. The margins would be so small that the stock would be able to make no returns. उसका ROE 5 रह जाएगा. 5 के P पे रहेगा तो what price would you get? So I don't think it makes much sense to go into it. Because idea being, there's so much. I'm based out of Bangalore, Aditya. So see, that's why I like Trent. I like Trent as a company. It's fallen as well, maybe not enough, but I like Trent as a company. Not just for Zudio, for Zara, for everything they do, for Tata, but I like that as a company as well. Right, guys, I'm running out of fuel now. It's late in the night, and my wife's calling me. And if any of you is married, husband or wife, you know that you don't make your spouse angry. So I shall take your leave for this evening. Tomorrow might be a good day for the markets, but my take is still the same. It's a short on rise. It's not a buy on dips market, Abhi. If you're looking at anywhere up to a week, 2 weeks, barring a complete change of trajectory by both parties, Iran and Mr. Trump, and the AI company starting to deliver real profits instead of a bubble, and the private credit issues that BlackRock has already clarified not becoming a problem, and the unemployment issues that the world is facing because of AI not causing a major disruption in the labor market. If all four of these can turn around to perfection, then yes, we should not be shocked. But otherwise, I think the market has gone outside. Thank you so much, everyone. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you for giving me your time. I hope I was helpful. If you think I was, if you feel like you connect with me or think I'm a good person, please do talk about me, share my name with your friends so they can also speak to me, ask me questions, and challenge me to do better. Thank you so much. Good evening.